friends, it's Jen. I just want to jump on here really quick. I've been getting a lot of outreach from different people thanking me for sharing GoFundMe's on my Facebook page, which is my private page that I just reserved for family and friends, for families that we knew or that are friends of friends that we knew in Los Angeles. So I don't know if you know, but I used to live in Altadena, and I was part of a very tight-knit community there based around an early childhood school called Village PlayGarden, which was a Waldorf-based early childhood school, but it was founded by an organizer named Kikanza Ramsey Ray. She had started the Bus Riders Union in downtown LA and did a lot of activism work in Los Angeles before she came to the awareness that it was really hard for people to work together and collaborate together as adults if they hadn't learned that skill as a child. And so she had made a commitment to opening a very diverse preschool and kindergarten where she could teach children to work together collaboratively from a very young age. And she thought that that would really help if we had more adults in Los Angeles that had been taught to work together collaboratively as children. So I really wanted my children to attend her preschool, and I remember going to an open meeting session, and she only had a few spots. And it was a very highly sought after preschool in Los Angeles, and it was in the foothills near Eaton Canyon where the fire is. And we had a conversation, and our values aligned, and she held 2 spaces for my daughters, and it was the biggest blessing for our family. And because we got accepted to her preschool, we moved house to Altadena. That house is now completely burned to the ground, and we lived there for several years in all of my neighbors' houses, our entire block going back all the way up into the canyon, as well as the neighborhoods in front of our house. We were on Altadena Drive between Fair Oaks and Lake. All those houses are lost. After my children left Village PlayGarden, they aged out when we were ready to go into 1st grade. They went to Pasadena Waldorf School, which was across the street from our house. And then I ended up leaving my consulting career and going to work at their school with them until they got to be into 4th grade. And that school has also now burned down, and many families who had moved to the area to attend the Pasadena Waldorf School have also lost their homes. A lot of the families that had moved to Altadena to go to Village PlayGarden with us have lost their homes. And Village PlayGarden was more than just a preschool and an early childhood center in Altadena. It was, it also had a farm component, and so there was a big farming program there, and animals, goats, sheep. And so there was a woman there who helped with the farm, who also taught our children beekeeping when they got older. So our kids would continue to go back to that land and that property to learn beekeeping, to learn regenerative gardening skills, to work on the land. And then even as we got into the pandemic years, there was always a small homeschool pod on that property because the founder, Kikanza, homeschooled her own children until they got to high school. And then once the pandemic hit, the homeschool component grew. The early childhood center grew to have 2 more locations in those neighborhoods. There was also a forest kindergarten program, not forced kindergarten, but forest kindergarten. That my children participated in, where they would just be out in nature all day for their school day for a week or 2 weeks at a time. And there were also some summer camp programs where the children would go on hikes, camping, all within those Eaton Canyon areas in different parts of Los Angeles. And there was a big storytelling component part of it. So it was a wonderful community there in Altadena. And a large part of why I came there was because of Village PlayGarden, and because of Kikanza Ramsey Ray. And also Kikanza was a great mentor for me, and why I took the role I did at Pasadena Waldorf School, where I helped to to organize them into having a diversity, equity, and inclusion conversation, which led to eventually a committee, which led to eventually some changes for the school. And then I did resign in protest because of some things that went against those principles and my values around that at that school. But I know everything's a work in progress, right? And so when I left, I went over to the Pacific Palisades Waldorf School and lived on the edge of Topanga Canyon. And so that school has now also burned down, the Westside Waldorf School. And a lot of families that I knew when I was the director of admissions at that Waldorf school have also been impacted and lost everything. So watching the fires for me has been very surreal, living here on Maui, where we experienced a similar event 2 years ago. And we're a small island community surrounded by an ocean, so it's not so easy to bring resources in. We couldn't just leave the island. People who lost their homes had to be absorbed within a small community on this island. And so we experienced the devastation and the heartbreak and the emotional toll as well. And then I'm seeing all of my friends in Los Angeles go through that same pattern of where you're kind of in dazed and confused, and you're trying to help, you're in survival mode, and then you after a couple days you stop donating things and you realize you have too many donations that aren't the right kind of donations, and then you go into like self-reflecting and taking stock of your feelings and emotions about what is happening, figuring out how you can still help without exhausting yourself. I know here on Maui everyone was helping, and I'm seeing that same thing play out in Los Angeles. And at the same time, when you're not there and you're watching from afar like I am now with Los Angeles, you feel so helpless to do anything. You see all these GoFundMe pages and you can only donate so much of your own resources. Although I am seeing that those GoFundMes are getting funded, and so that's great. But I just wanted to share here from my experience on Maui, kind of how now that I'm outside of Los Angeles looking in on what's happening with all of my friends and family there, I just want to share some perspectives. I also want to just call out that Village PlayGarden. If you could look it up, I'll share my GoFundMe on this page, their GoFundMe on this page to rebuild. It's such an important piece of that community there that rebuilding that school will have a ripple out impact for the whole community. Same with the other two schools. And so an important note is that the founder of that school, Kikanza Ramsey-Ray, actually passed away last year from uterine cancer. And she left behind 3 grown children. Her youngest is still in high school, and a husband. And he has committed to refounding and preserving her legacy there with Village PlayGarden. And I know the whole community is going to be behind that effort. So if there's one place you want to donate that you think might have a big impact on rebuilding Altadena, which is a very special neighborhood in Los Angeles. It's an old African-American neighborhood. It has a lot of deep roots in the African-American community in Los Angeles. And so that would be a great place to donate. So I will post their GoFundMe page on my YouTube channel for anyone who's looking for the one place they might want to donate. That's what I'm recommending. And then I also just want to share that if you are not in a financial place to donate, totally fine. There are other ways that you can help, and I'm going to share those here, energetically help. And just know that it's temporary, that people will need funding for different things, and certainly the schools are going to need funding for things to rebuild, because they have to be holding schools somewhere else in temporary places while they rebuild, and that costs more. But there's going to be soon a lot of FEMA money flooding into Los Angeles. There's going to be soon insurance payouts. It's going to take years, but there's going to be money flooding in to help people reestablish their lives, and they're going to be able to buy and replace all of the practical things that they need. What doesn't get handled by money is the emotional toll that people are feeling. And there is even if you have money or you're receiving a ton of money or help from insurance companies and FEMA, the emotional toll is what usually gets overlooked. And so there's also an effort right now to have a trauma response team come in to the community, the school communities at Westside Waldorf School, at Pasadena Waldorf School, and maybe others. It's a trauma relief that works with children, and they've gone into many places in the world. There are volunteers who do this work. They've gone into Gaza. They've gone into other war-torn areas to really sit with the children and help the children process what's happened, so that we don't end up with traumatized children becoming traumatized adults, perpetuating a world that we don't like. And that was really, brings me back to why Kikanza founded the school in the first place, was like, if we can work with our children so that we have adults who are capable, we will have a better, more collaborative society. And so I will also post a link to help fund the trauma response effort that's being organized right now around the schools in those two communities where I used to live. So I think those are two great fundraisers. But if you don't have money to donate, this is a practice that I hold, that I learned from an auntie, a Kanaka auntie here in Hawaii, a native Hawaiian auntie. And it's the Ho'oponopono prayer. They call it the prayer in other circles. In Hawaii, they don't call it a prayer. It's a practice of where we listen to each other, and we sit in circle and we hear each other, and we recognize the interconnectedness of everyone. And so the thing you can do is, whenever you see a GoFundMe, try to fund it. If you have a few dollars and you're in that space, donate some money for sure. And then also, and even if you can't donate money, you can do the Ho'oponopono prayer for that family whose GoFundMe it is, or that community, or for even all the people in Los Angeles, even if you don't know anyone. You can recognize that everything that's happening, and whether it's happening to someone else in our community or it's happening to someone else in a community that we're not even connected with, when we feel empathy and compassion for what's happening, it's connected to us in some way, right? And so to the degree that it's connected to us, we can heal it within ourselves, and that ripples out, right? So the Ho'oponopono practice, it's very common. It's all over the internet. You would just say, thank you. So you have gratitude for the feelings that you're having about the situation. Because thank you, it's either showing us something about ourselves, it's showing us our own empathy or compassion, it's showing us the place that we've broken open. Maybe it's showing us that there is suffering in the world, and that's an important message for us to hold. Whatever it is that you can find gratitude for in the situation, you can say thank you. Thank you for holding it with grace. Thank you for experiencing this suffering with grace. So thank you for me having been touched and opened up to a place of compassion because of your suffering. Thank you, because I got that gift. The next part is you can say, I love you. We can love our fellow man no matter the situation. So thank you. And then the next is, I love you. And that's a way of holding space for people we might not even know, to just be acknowledging our human connectedness. And then you can say, I'm sorry. And that's really saying, I forgive you, or I have compassion for what you're suffering through. So I'm sorry for your suffering. And I'm sorry to the extent that my receipt of the connected, message or whatever I received from the situation maybe caused or was responsible for you having to experience it, because we're all interconnected and we're learning and growing in this human. So there's this I'm sorry component, like taking some ownership for the suffering of others, because in some big picture way, it's how we're learning together. Okay. And then the fourth question is, please forgive me. And whether you've done anything wrong to be forgiven for isn't the point, right? The point is that if that person can find a place of forgiveness, maybe the people in Los Angeles are angry to all the people outside of Los Angeles who didn't experience the fire, or maybe the trolls who are saying horrible things on the internet, maybe they have some place of anger. If they can find a place of forgiveness for everyone outside of their situation, then they can release that anger and let it go, right? So the question, please forgive me, is kind of drawing out from the cosmos a forgiveness from those who are suffering, right? And also for ourselves, that we can be forgiven for the experience that we're having, however profound it is for us, because of their suffering. So there's this interconnection that's happening, and that we want to be sorry and also ask for forgiveness, because it draws out from the other. It shifts something so that they can let go of something that might be bothering them, right? So that's been my practice. I see a GoFundMe. I can't afford to fund any more GoFundMes, so I'm just doing the Ho'oponopono for the people in the community and the family who are being honored with the GoFundMe, by offering them a Ho'oponopono exchange, an energy exchange, to help shift the situation. And it's really like a deep caring for their emotional experience. So if you look up Ho'oponopono, you'll see it was identified by somebody who was immersed in the Hawaiian culture. So he had probably learned from some aunties how to be in right relationship with people, and he used it in his work with persons who were in a mental institution. And by doing the Ho'oponopono for each person under his supervision, even without ever meeting them, he was able to help every single person there heal and move on with their lives. So it's a great story. You should look it up. But I just wanted to offer that as something that we can all do while we feel helpless and are watching the suffering of many, many people who've lost a lot. Not just material possessions, but the emotional connections they had with where they lived, with their family experiences that happened in those homes, with the little trinkets and mementos from their own childhoods and their children's lives, and photos and whatever else has been lost for them. And just that they say there's like 10 life events that are the highest, most stressful, death of a parent, death of a sibling, and actually having your home burned down in fire is up there on that list. So I just want to acknowledge that it's not a small thing to lose your home, or lose your livelihood, or lose your car. It's a stressful, traumatic event. And when everyone is going through the same event, it's really hard to support each other. And then for those of us who aren't there, who have some understanding of it from our own past experience, I just want to offer that Ho'oponopono is a way that we can support emotionally. And then if we can donate. That's great. All right. Thank you, everyone.